The morning sun slanted through the half-open blinds, casting long stripes across the kitchen floor. The smell of freshly brewed coffee hung in the air, mixing with the faint scent of toasted bread. Liam sat at the kitchen island, dressed in his usual work slacks and a collared shirt, scrolling absently through emails on his tablet. Avery stood by the sink, her back to him, rinsing a glass. She was still in her robe, hair tied up, but her posture was stiff, tight in a way he'd noticed more often lately. "You working late again tonight?" Liam asked without looking up. A pause. "Yeah," she replied flatly. "Probably past 9. There's another vendor meeting, and then Anna wants to go over the Q2 projections again." Liam nodded, tapping his screen, then took a sip of coffee. The silence stretched. "That's the third late night this week." Avery turned, arms crossed, brows faintly arched. "You keeping score now?" "No," he said quickly, setting the tablet down. "Just noticing. That's all." She looked at him for a beat longer than necessary, as if weighing her response, then turned back to the sink. Water rushed from the tap. He watched the muscles in her shoulders tense beneath the silk robe. "You know it's not like I'm out partying, right?" she said over her shoulder. "I'm busting my ass trying to get that promotion." "I know," he said quietly. "I didn't mean it like that." But it was already there, the wedge. Not an argument, not even a disagreement, just that small, biting edge of distance that had grown sharp in the past 6 months. She left the kitchen without another word. That night, Liam ate alone. He reheated leftovers in the microwave and ate straight from the plastic container while watching muted baseball highlights on the TV. The house was too quiet. The kind of quiet that didn't feel peaceful, just empty. He checked the time. 10:47 p.m. She hadn't texted. He opened his phone. Scrolled. Nothing. He started typing. "Everything okay?" Then deleted it. Maybe she was just tired. Maybe this was just the grind. 7 years wasn't exactly romantic bliss. People grew up, settled down, got busy. He knew that. He told himself that. Still, he remembered when she used to call him during lunch just to hear his voice. When she'd fall asleep curled into his chest, murmuring about someday buying a cottage in the mountains. Now she fell asleep facing the other way, phone on her chest, screen glowing until 2 a.m. Avery came in just past midnight. Liam was awake, lying in bed, pretending to sleep. He heard her heels click across the hardwood, the soft thud of her bag hitting the couch. Then the bathroom door closed. The sound of running water. A muffled cough. She didn't come straight to bed. She sat on the edge of the sofa, scrolling her phone. He watched her silhouette from the dark hallway. When she finally came to bed, she didn't notice he was awake. She didn't even look at him. She just climbed under the covers, turned her back to him, and let out a tired sigh. He stared at the ceiling. The next morning, the silence was worse. "I thought we could have dinner tomorrow," Liam offered gently, buttering his toast. "Maybe order from that Thai place you like?" Avery didn't look up from her phone. "I'll let you know." He paused. "You've been on your phone a lot lately." She gave a tight smile, eyes still fixed on the screen. "It's called work, Liam, right?" he said, setting the butter knife down with a clink. "You're always working, even when we're in bed." Now she looked up. "Are you seriously giving me crap for being ambitious? Since when is that a problem?" "It's not," he said. "It's just I miss us. I miss talking to you." Avery scoffed softly. "Maybe if you had more to say, I'd be more interested." The words cut deeper than she probably intended. But she didn't apologize. Just grabbed her keys and headed for the door. "I'll be late again," she said over her shoulder. Liam sat there in the silence that followed, jaw clenched. The toast went cold on his plate. Later that week, he noticed her phone always face down on the table. She never used to care about that. Once, while she was in the shower, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. A message preview flashed across the screen. Just a name. Logan. No last name. No context. He didn't touch it. Didn't read more. But his chest tightened all the same. That night, he asked, "Who's Logan?" Avery barely blinked. "A guy from the gym. He seems to text you a lot." "You going to my phone now?" she snapped. "No. Just saw a message." She rolled her eyes. "He's harmless. We talk about workouts. Don't make it weird." Liam let it drop. But it didn't sit right. He could feel it. The slow creep of something unspoken. The shift in her energy, the guardedness. That night, She showered after her gym session and came to bed wearing perfume. She said it was nothing, just habit. Liam turned off the lamp and stared into the dark. The days bled together. She was home less. When she barely looked at him. Conversations were short. Her laughter came easily on the phone, rarely with him. He started to feel like a ghost in his own home, present but unseen. He tried planning a weekend getaway. She said she couldn't. Too much work. Too many deadlines. He suggested counseling. She laughed it off. Don't be so dramatic, she'd said. Not everything needs to be fixed. Liam wondered when exactly she'd stopped seeing their marriage as something worth fixing. One night, after dinner, he tried one last time. You know I love you, right? Avery glanced at him from across the table. She looked tired, annoyed. Liam, please don't do this. Do what? This clingy, desperate thing. It's not attractive. He sat back, stunned. I'm not being desperate. I'm trying to talk to my wife. She sighed, pushing her plate away. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe we've run out of things to say. And with that, she got up and left the room. Liam remained seated, alone again, staring at the untouched wine across from him. The glass she never picked up. The seat she no longer seemed to want to fill. Something had changed between them. And he knew, deep down, it wasn't just work. Avery meets Logan. The seed of betrayal the gym smelled like sweat and rubber mats, pulsing with rhythmic grunts, slamming weights, and the ever-present beat of high-tempo music. It was the only place Avery felt in control these days. The controlled burn of 5K run, the cold bite of steel in her hands, lifting, sweating, breathing. In those moments, she was just her, not a tired wife, not someone fighting invisible wars at home, not a failure. She was focused on her squats when a voice cut through her earbuds. You've got great form. Smooth, amused. Male. Avery turned, annoyed but curious. Standing a few feet away was a man, tall, broad-shouldered, gym towel slung lazily around his neck. He had that kind of cocky grin people either found charming or punchable. Dark eyes, light stubble, fitted shirt that clung a little too perfectly. I've seen you in here before, he added. You train like you're preparing for a fight. Avery pulled one earbud out. And you watch like you're scouting a victim. His grin widened. Guilty. Name's Logan. She eyed him. Avery. Nice to meet you, Avery. Don't worry, I'm not hitting on you. Yet. She rolled her eyes, but the faintest smile tugged at her lips. I'm married, right? That explains the ring, he said, glancing briefly at her hand. Doesn't explain the loneliness, though. Her smile disappeared. Excuse me? Logan shrugged. You just seem like someone who carries a lot. And not just weights. Avery blinked, caught off guard. Before she could respond, he was already walking away, tossing a wink over his shoulder. See you around. She did, again and again, over the next few weeks. It was never intentional. He'd just show up, sometimes lifting nearby, other times offering harmless pointers, always towing the line between friendly and flirtatious. You ever stretch after a deadlift like that? Mind if I spot you? Your husband lift with you? No. Shame. At first, Avery kept him at arm's length. She made it clear she wasn't interested. But Logan had a way of talking that dug under your skin. He listened, not like Liam did, half distracted, but fully, his gaze locked, like you were the only person in the room. It was disarming. One evening, after a grueling session, Avery found herself sitting on a bench by the vending machines, towel over her neck, breathing heavy. Logan appeared beside her like clockwork. You always train like you're trying to outrun something. She chuckled tiredly. Maybe I am. Want to talk about it? She hesitated, then shook her head. No offense, but you're just some guy from the gym. He leaned back. Some guys from the gym have decent ears and bad judgment, so they won't judge. She laughed despite herself. For the first time in weeks, it didn't feel forced. 2 nights later, she ran into him in the parking lot. She was walking to her car, bag slung over her shoulder, rain starting to mist. He pulled up in a black Audi, window down, music low. Need a ride? He offered. Avery hesitated. I'm good. You sure? Your car looks like it's one thunderclap away from retirement. She smirked. Hey, my retirement car is paid off. Logan leaned across the seat. Come on, just around the block. I swear, no bad intentions. You can even hold the pepper spray. She should have said no, but it had been a long day, a long week, a long stretch of months filled with cold silences and walls that never came down. She was tired of holding everything in. She climbed in. They drove in silence for a while, city lights flickering past. Logan didn't try anything, just drove calm, one hand on the wheel, music still low. "You always look that exhausted?" he asked after a while. She sighed. "Work, life, marriage, you name it. Trouble at home?" Avery didn't answer right away. Then, "We've grown apart. He doesn't see me anymore." "Not really." Logan glanced at her. "That's criminal. If I came home to you every night, I wouldn't even blink without making sure you felt seen." Avery let out a short laugh. "You're smooth." "I'm honest," he said, voice low. They pulled into a quiet overlook just outside the city, trees lining one side, a hazy skyline on the other. Avery leaned her head against the window. The weight of everything pressed down on her, the fights, the distance, the cold nights lying back to back. And now this man beside her, unapologetic in his attention, offering the warmth she hadn't felt in months. Logan turned off the ignition but left the radio playing, a low thrum beneath the silence. "I'm not trying to wreck anything," he said gently. "But maybe you deserve more than waiting around for someone who stopped choosing you." Avery felt her breath catch. "You don't know him." "No, but I know what it looks like when someone gives up on their partner. And from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've been holding your whole marriage up on one shoulder." She stared out the window. "He used to be different. We both did. And now—" She didn't answer. He shifted closer. "You're not cheating if you want to be wanted. That's not how it works." He leaned in just a little more. "Maybe not, but wanting something more doesn't make you the villain." Her lips parted to speak. She wasn't even sure what she was going to say. Tell him to stop. Tell him she couldn't. Tell herself this wasn't a line she'd ever cross. But then he kissed her. Slow, measured, testing the space between permission and refusal. And she kissed him back, just for a moment. But it was enough. She pulled away, breath caught in her throat, heart pounding against her ribs. "I should go," she whispered. Logan nodded, but his eyes held that same unwavering gaze. No pressure, just clarity. Avery said nothing as she stepped out of the car and walked to her own. Her hands trembled as she gripped the steering wheel. She didn't drive home right away. The first time Avery snuck back home with her blouse inside out, she laughed at herself in the mirror. A nervous, guilty laugh that didn't sound quite like her own. She buttoned her shirt correctly, wiped the lipstick smudge from her chin, and swirled some mouthwash. Then she slipped into the bedroom like a shadow and slid beneath the sheets next to Liam, who didn't stir. He never stirred anymore. Logan had become a fixture in her life. Like an addiction, she rationalized in stages. They met in hotels now. Not sleazy motels, but clean, polished business-class rooms where the curtains always stayed drawn and the bed was always too soft. He brought wine sometimes. She brought lingerie once. Their bodies tangled with reckless need, but the high was more than physical. It was being wanted, being seen. "I could get used to this," Logan murmured once, tracing his fingers down her bare thigh. Avery rolled onto her back, staring at the ceiling. "This can't last." He turned to her, propping his head on his hand. "Why not?" "Because I'm married," she said, but her voice lacked conviction. She didn't say because I love him, because she wasn't sure anymore. Logan didn't push. He never pushed. He just made her feel like her life wasn't a script she had to follow anymore. At home, the lies multiplied. Running errands, staying late at work again, girls' night, gym. Each excuse came smoother than the last. Liam rarely questioned her anymore. He simply nodded, quietly, like a man growing used to silence. But there were moments, small fractures, where the truth nearly spilled. Once, she came home to find him sitting at the dining table, dinner untouched. A bottle of wine open. 2 glasses poured. "Everything okay?" she asked, slipping her heels off of the door. He nodded, watching her. "I thought maybe we could eat together." Avery hesitated, purse still in hand. "Already grabbed something." "Sorry." Liam's jaw tightened. "Right. Of course." She walked past him, paused, then turned. "Don't do that." "Do what?" That tone. Like I've done something wrong. He leaned back slowly. I didn't say anything. You never do, she snapped, louder than she meant to. You just sit there with your eyes full of questions and never say them out loud. Liam stood now. Would it matter if I did? Avery froze. He didn't wait for an answer, just grabbed his jacket and stepped outside without another word. She lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling while Liam slept beside her, if he was even sleeping. They didn't touch anymore. Their bed was divided by invisible lines. The intimacy was gone, and now even the pretense was unraveling. Avery told herself it wasn't all her fault. Liam had changed, too. He stopped fighting for them, stopped reaching for her. He used to be spontaneous, used to surprise her with road trips, cook dinner shirtless while blasting music. Now he was just there, like wallpaper. It wasn't cheating, she told herself. It was escaping. At work, she smiled more. Her coworkers commented on her glow. You've been working out? Something's different about you. You seem happier. She played it off, but inside she was buzzing. Logan would text her in the middle of meetings. Thinking about how you tasted yesterday. Distracted yet? Your husband doesn't deserve you. You know that, right? The thrill never dulled. Not even after a month. If anything, it became harder to come home to Liam, harder to look him in the eye and pretend their world hadn't cracked wide open. Liam, for his part, wasn't blind. He noticed her showers had grown longer, that she wore perfume to the grocery store, that her phone never left her side anymore, that she smiled at her screen more than she ever smiled at him. Once, when she was asleep, he picked up her phone from the nightstand. It was locked, of course. She never used to have a passcode. Now it demanded a thumbprint. He set it down without trying. Another night, he asked, "Do you love me?" Avery looked up from her laptop, caught off guard. What kind of question is that? A serious one. She frowned. Of course I do. He nodded but didn't smile. Okay. And she went back to typing, too fast, too relieved that he didn't press. Their arguments grew sharper in places where the silence had once reigned. You never listen to me, she snapped during a Saturday breakfast. I feel like I'm talking to a wall. Liam folded the newspaper with slow care. You don't talk to me. You talk at me. There's a difference. You've checked out, she accused. You come home, eat, sleep. That's it. You don't even try. I'm trying, he said quietly. But I feel like I'm chasing someone who doesn't want to be caught. Her hand trembled slightly as she lifted her coffee. Maybe I'm just tired of chasing you first. Liam didn't answer. One rainy afternoon, she met Logan in the back seat of his car behind a closed-down warehouse. Her blouse came off in seconds, her breath fogging the window. His hands were rough, eager, pulling her into the moment like a storm. Tell me you're mine, he growled into her neck. She moaned, I'm yours. And for those few minutes, she believed it. But every time she came home, something in Liam's eyes chipped away. He wasn't yelling, wasn't accusing. He was watching. He started noticing small things. The receipts she forgot to throw away, the strange perfume that wasn't hers, a shirt he didn't recognize buried in the laundry. He didn't confront her, but he took photos, saved records, quietly, patiently, heartbreak etching itself into his every gesture. Avery, too distracted by her secret life, didn't see the quiet storm brewing in his stillness. She had built a world with Logan, one full of stolen hours, whispered lies, and dangerous highs. And she was slipping deeper into it with every passing day. Rain tapped against the living room windows that evening, soft and steady like a warning whisper from the world outside. Liam sat on the edge of the couch, still in his work shirt, collar open and sleeves rolled to the forearms. The house was dim, quiet, too quiet. Avery had said she'd be home by 7. It was now well past 8. The wine glass in his hand trembled slightly as he set it down, barely touched. He heard the sound of the front door unlocking. Then voices. 2 of them. He stood. Avery entered first, dressed in black heels and a silk blouse unbuttoned, one too many for modesty. Her lipstick was smudged, her hair tousled in a way that screamed deliberate. Behind her, Logan swaggered in, drenched from the rain, leather jacket over one shoulder, a cocky grin slicing across his face. Liam, Avery said coolly. We need to talk. He didn't move. Who the hell is this? Logan gave a half laugh. Relax, man. I'm Logan. And you're Liam, the husband. Liam's fingers twitched. Avery stepped forward, arms crossed, posture stiff. You said you wanted honesty. So here it is. I've been seeing Logan for a while, and I'm tired of sneaking around. Liam's breath left him like a punch to the gut. Logan flopped onto the recliner as if it were his own. Your wife's got taste. I'll give her that. Shut up, Liam muttered, his voice low raw. Avery walked past him, heels clicking on hardwood. We're not doing this anymore, Liam. I'm not pretending. I brought him here because this is what I want. What I need. Liam turned to her, voice cracking. Here? You brought him here. Yes, she snapped. And you're going to respect that. The silence hung heavy, suffocating. Then she delivered it. He wants you to leave us alone until we're done. And you can't refuse. Get out. The words hung there like ice. Cold. Final. Liam's mouth opened, but no sound came. Avery stepped aside, as if opening the path to their bedroom. Go, she said flatly. Don't make this harder than it is. Liam looked at her, really looked at her. There was no guilt in her eyes. No shame, only defiance. She stood beside the man she brought into their home with a calm cruelty he never imagined her capable of. He turned away, silent. Logan chuckled from the couch. Smart man. Liam walked out down the hall. His feet felt heavy, like each step pulled a piece of him away. Then the back door creaked open. The shed door followed. Inside the bedroom, Avery unzipped her skirt. Logan laughed. That guy's got no balls. Just walked away. She didn't respond. Her hands were shaking, but she didn't want to admit it. She pressed her lips to Logan's neck, trying to drown the guilt and heat. You sure about this? He murmured into her ear. Shut up, she whispered, biting his lip. They collapsed onto the bed, tangled limbs, breathless. The sheets Liam once held her in were now foreign territory, stained with betrayal. Logan pulled her close, dragging her blouse off. Then Creak, the bedroom door. Logan jerked upright. Standing in the doorway was Liam. He wasn't crying. He wasn't shouting. He was holding something in his hands. A thick, rusted crowbar. The silence was unbearable. Avery sat up slowly. Liam, what the hell? Liam looked at Logan. You think you can walk into my house, my marriage, and mock me in my own bed? Logan blinked. Okay, let's chill out. Liam stepped forward. 1 step. 2. Logan stood suddenly, hands raised. Look, man, don't do something stupid. Liam's face was unreadable. Calm. Too calm. You already did, he said flatly. Avery's voice cracked. Liam, stop. Stop, what are you doing? Liam didn't answer. He held the crowbar low by his side. Logan stepped between them. Put the damn thing down. Liam's grip tightened. The rain outside was louder now, hammering against the house like drums of war. Liam, Avery screamed, rushing forward. He stepped back, avoiding her. His eyes locked onto Logan. I let you into my home, Liam said softly. I trusted her, and you think you can stand there laughing in my face? Logan scoffed nervously. You think you're the first guy this has ever happened to? Get over it. That was the last straw. Liam lunged. Avery screamed. Logan staggered backward, dodging the first swing, crashing into the nightstand. The lamp fell, shattered. Liam raised the crowbar again, roaring with a rage buried for months. Stop, Avery shrieked. But the scream of the crowbar, slamming into the floor next to Logan's head, was louder. Liam missed, on purpose or not, it wasn't clear. Logan scrambled, slipping on the rug, backing toward the wall. I should kill you, Liam shouted, voice hoarse. Logan held up a trembling hand. You're insane. Liam's eyes burned. Maybe I am. Avery stood frozen, covering her mouth, body shaking. Her legs gave out. She collapsed onto the bed, sobbing. Liam turned to her. I gave you everything, and this is what I get. His voice cracked with betrayal. In my own bed. Avery shook her head violently. Liam, please. He looked at her like she was a stranger. Then, without another word, he dropped the crowbar. It clanged against the wood floor with a final, echoing clang. Liam turned and walked out. Avery remained on the bed, shivering. Logan sank to the floor, panting. No one spoke. The house that once held memories of laughter now echoed with the sound of silence, shattered trust, and the sharp edge of consequences no one had been ready for. Liam didn't sleep that night. He sat in the dim glow of his computer screen, hands still trembling slightly from the events hours earlier. His crowbar sat quietly beside the desk, now clean and unused, but its presence was like a physical echo of everything that had just happened. He could still hear Avery's voice, trembling and furious. "You don't scare me." He could still see Logan's pale, terrified face. But Liam had moved past rage, past pain. Now came the cold. Now came calculation. At 6 o'clock a.m. sharp, Liam closed his laptop, stood up, and straightened his shirt. He looked at himself in the mirror, disheveled, hollow-eyed, but awake in a way he hadn't been in years. This wasn't the man Avery knew. This was the man she'd made. By 9 o'clock a.m., Liam had already made the first move. He sent the first email, an anonymous tip, to HR at the gym where Logan worked as a personal trainer. Subject: urgent, client abuse, and inappropriate conduct Logan H. Multiple ongoing sexual relationships with married clients, including training clients off-book during work hours. More to follow. Attached: photos, chat logs, timestamps. He'd been collecting for weeks. Phone bills, patterns, half screenshots Avery had carelessly left open. Even Logan's public Instagram, where he showed off his ladies, never thinking anyone noticed the blurred reflections behind him. By 10:15 a.m., Liam got a ping. "Thank you for bringing this to our attention. This matter is being escalated to HR management and legal." 1 hour later, Logan was fired. On the spot. But Liam wasn't finished. Next, he logged into their joint savings account. Avery had insisted months ago they open a shared fund for future travel. She never realized Liam kept full control over the account access, that she never changed the password. With one transfer, he moved $26,430 into a private trust account, solely in his name. Another email, this one to Avery's employer, a conservative PR firm that proudly championed family values and image. Subject: rebrand representation risk, employee Avery G. Ongoing affair with known predator Logan H., including sexual acts performed in her marital home while her husband was present. Evidence includes surveillance timestamps, address logs, and screenshots of explicit workplace messages. He attached only the necessary evidence. No more, no less. Her company responded by 2 o'clock p.m. Avery G. has been placed on administrative leave pending review. That evening, Liam returned home, calm, collected. Avery was there, sitting on the couch, eyes red and puffy, a wine bottle half empty at her feet. She looked up when he entered. She started, voice hoarse. "I didn't know where you went." Liam walked past her without a word. He placed his keys in the dish, took off his coat, moved like a ghost in the home that once held their laughter. Avery stood up. "Can we just talk? Please." He turned, looked her dead in the eyes. "I gave you years," he said evenly. "You gave me betrayal. I made a mistake." He tilted his head. "You invited him into our bed and told me to leave." Tears filled her eyes again. "Liam, I wasn't thinking. I wasn't. Logan said we were just..." Liam's voice cut like a knife. "You made me feel like I didn't matter. Like I was invisible. You broke something you don't get to fix." She reached out. "I'll do anything. Just don't shut me out like this." He took a step back. Too late. She froze. "I know what you've done," he said coldly. "And now, so what does everyone else?" Her face crumbled. What?" Liam gave her a thin, brutal smile. "Check your phone." She fumbled. Her fingers shook as she scrolled through message after message. Emails from HR, friends ghosting her, even her sister sending. "Avery, what the hell did you do?" Oh my God," she sank to the floor. "No," she whispered. No, this can't be happening." Liam stood over her. "This is what consequences look like," he said softly. "You wanted freedom. You got it. Welcome to it." Her lip quivered. You ruined me." He knelt down, inches from her face. "No, you did." Meanwhile, across town, Logan slammed his fist against the steering wheel. His phone buzzed endlessly. "You're disgusting. You're a predator. Don't come back to the gym." He screamed, throwing the phone out the window. He barely noticed the approaching vehicle until it honked angrily. A middle finger from a passing driver. He was unraveling. His bank froze his accounts. Turns out one of the women he'd been seeing also filed a harassment claim, after seeing Liam's email leak. His landlord had posted a 30-day eviction notice, claiming unwanted media attention. Then he saw it, plastered online. A video surveillance footage from outside Liam's home, leaked anonymously, of Logan walking into the house with Avery. Captioned, "Affair partner sneaks in a man's home while husband watches." The comments were brutal. "What a loser. Homewrecker with zero shame. Hope karma hits him hard." Logan screamed into the silence of his car, fists pounding the dashboard until it cracked. Back at the house, Avery sat in the kitchen, eyes red, hands shaking. Her phone buzzed again. Her mother. She didn't answer. Liam poured himself a glass of scotch. She looked up at him, voice barely a whisper. "Are you happy now?" He took a sip, then another. "I'm not anything," he replied. "I'm free." She broke, collapsed into sobs, head in her arms. "I'm sorry," she whimpered. "Liam, I'm sorry. I'll make it right. Please, just tell me what to do." Liam didn't look at her. "You don't get to ask for mercy after spitting in my face." She crawled toward him, clinging to his leg. "Please don't leave me like this. Please." He pulled away. "I warned you." His voice turned to ice. "Now you get to live with it." The wind rattled through the empty front yard, tossing dead leaves across the driveway like discarded promises. Avery stood alone on the porch, barefoot and disheveled, a sweatshirt too big for a frame clinging to her like regret. She hadn't slept. Her phone had long since died, its battery drained from the constant barrage of messages she didn't want to read. Her inbox was a wasteland. Subject: employment termination in light of recent public controversy and reputational harm. From Mom. "You've disgraced yourself. Your father won't speak to you." From her best friend, Lena. "You lied to my face. We're done." Her world, once curated and composed, had crumbled like wet plaster. The neighbors avoided her gaze. The barista at her favorite cafe, who used to compliment her every morning, now barely acknowledged her. She was radioactive. And Liam, he hadn't said a word since that night. He slept in the guest room, ate meals in silence, came and went like a shadow, never raising his voice, never acknowledging her tears. This silence was worse than any screaming match. Avery walked back inside the house. The living room looked the same, but everything felt foreign. The couch where she and Logan once sat laughing. The hallway where she'd told Liam to get out. That version of herself, the cold, smug one, felt like a stranger. A monster. She touched the mantel where their wedding photo once sat. Now the space was empty, just a faint square outline in the dust. The front door creaked. She turned. Liam stepped in, his expression unreadable. He carried a set of folders and a rolled-up rug under his arm. She blinked. "Where have you been?" He didn't answer. Walked right past her and set the rug down beside the couch. "Liam," she said again, stepping forward. He opened one of the folders, legal papers. A notice of property division, name removed from joint lease, an itemized list of everything he planned to take. Her breath caught. "You are leaving?" He met her eyes at last. "No, Avery. You left. You just didn't walk out the door." She stood still as stone. "I was lonely," she said softly. "You stopped seeing me. You stopped being worth seeing," he replied without hesitation. Her face crumpled. "I lost everything," she whispered. "No," he said calmly. "You threw everything away." Across town, Logan sat alone in a dingy studio apartment. A single mattress on the floor. Empty protein shake bottles littered the counter. He hadn't shaved. His face was bloated from alcohol, his eyes bloodshot. He stared at his reflection in the cracked bathroom mirror. Once cocky, lean, smug, now pathetic. His social media accounts were flooded with hate. Someone had leaked his DMs, screenshots of sleazy conversations, half-naked selfies he'd sent to other clients. The gym blacklisted him. Even nearby competitors wouldn't take him. He tried applying to a fast food chain. The manager took one look at his name and said, "Yeah, we saw that video. We don't need that kind of attention." The video. That goddamn video. He slammed his fist into the sink. It cracked further. Back at the house, Avery followed Liam as he packed a few final items into his car. "Can we talk, please?" "Just talk." He said nothing. "Liam, I made a mistake. I know that. I was broken. I was looking for what?" He snapped, finally turning to her. "An audience? A thrill? Validation? She flinched. I wanted to feel wanted, she said quietly. You stopped trying. I was exhausted, he said. From building a life you were busy tearing down. She reached for his arm. Don't go. Please. I don't care about anything else. I just want you. I'll spend the rest of my life making this right. He pulled away. I don't want to spend the rest of my life wondering when you'll betray me again. I won't. I swear to God I won't. You already did, he said. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I miss you, she choked. I miss us. Liam opened the driver's side door and paused. You miss the man who would have done anything for you, he said. But that man doesn't exist anymore. He got into the car and closed the door. She moved closer, hands trembling against the glass. Liam, please, look at me. He started the engine. Don't do this. Don't leave me like this. Her voice cracked into a sob. He didn't look at her. The car backed slowly out of the driveway. She ran alongside it, barefoot on the cold pavement. I'm sorry, she cried. I'm sorry. Please, just give me one more chance. Please. The car rolled to the end of the street. She collapsed to her knees in the middle of the yard. The taillights blinked once, then turned the corner. Gone. The silence that followed was vast, crushing. She could hear her own ragged breathing. A distant dog barked. Avery sat motionless on the grass, arms limp at her sides, hair tangled in the wind. She was alone, utterly, finally alone. The city skyline was unfamiliar, steel and glass towers shimmering in the morning light, humming with distant traffic and quiet possibility. Liam sat in his modest new apartment, the walls bare except for a single framed photo on the windowsill. A mountain ridge taken on a solo hike years ago, back when solitude felt like freedom, not exile. The silence in this apartment was different than the one in his old house. It wasn't heavy with betrayal or resentment. It was clean, neutral, the kind of quiet that didn't shout. He exhaled slowly, turning the photo toward himself before setting it upright again. Therapy was hard. He hadn't expected it to be, though he should have. In the beginning, he mostly sat there with arms crossed, lips tight. How do you feel? Dr. Morse would ask gently, pushing her glasses up her nose. Like I'm sitting in a chair, he'd mutter. But week after week, the armor chipped away. By the third session, his voice cracked. By the fifth, he cried for the first time in years. I didn't deserve what she did, he said once, eyes fixed on the floor. But I still feel like it's my fault. Dr. Morse gave him space. No judgment, just a mirror to hold up to his pain. One day, she asked, who were you before Avery? Liam blinked. I don't know, he said truthfully. Maybe it's time to find out. He joined a writing group at the local library on Thursday nights. He wasn't a writer, not really, but something about putting words on paper, without expectation or apology, gave him a strange peace. The first time he read aloud, his voice trembled. It's okay, said a soft voice from across the room. Take your time. That voice belonged to Elena. She wasn't loud or flashy. She wore quiet colors, gray cardigans, soft blues. Her hair was always tied back, a few strands falling loose at her temples. She listened more than she spoke. When she did speak, it was careful, intentional. Liam noticed the way she tilted her head slightly when someone read something vulnerable, the way she made eye contact without forcing it. After one session, they lingered near the coffee urn. I like your piece tonight, she said, wrapping her hands around a paper cup. There's a lot beneath the surface. He smiled weakly. Yeah, I guess I'm still figuring out how to get out. Same, she replied. Sometimes I think it's less about writing well and more about writing honestly. He nodded, appreciative of her simplicity. They started talking more after that. First in a group, then outside of it. Walks after meetings, lunches on weekends. Always casual, always gentle. One rainy afternoon, they sat beneath a large awning outside a cafe, sipping tea and watching the world bustle by in gray streaks. I like the rain, Elena said, tucking her knees up into her chair. It makes the city quieter, like it's asking us to slow down. Liam chuckled. I used to hate it. It made everything feel heavy. But now, I don't know. It's kind of peaceful. Do you mind if I ask what happened before you moved here? He hesitated. I was married, he said. She cheated with someone she brought into our house. Her eyebrows raised slightly, but she didn't ask for more. Everything fell apart, he added. But I'm trying to put myself back together. She nodded slowly. That takes strength. Most people try to just glue the old pieces together. He looked at her. What about you, he asked. Elena smiled faintly. Widowed. 3 years ago. His breath caught. I'm sorry. It's okay, she said. We were young, and it was sudden. Car accident. For a while, I don't want to live in a world where he didn't. Liam was quiet for a beat. But you chose to. Yes. Slowly, bit by bit, like learning to breathe all over again. He admired her honesty, her quiet resilience. There was no performance to her grief. Just truth. Their connection wasn't built on intensity or lust. It was slow, grounded, a different kind of closeness. One evening, Liam invited her over for dinner, his first time cooking for someone since the divorce. She laughed as he nearly dropped the spaghetti colander in the sink. You're lucky I'm not a food critic, she teased. Oh, come on, he said, smiling. That's at least 3 stars. 2.5, maybe. They ate on the couch, plates on their laps, a movie playing softly in the background. Afterward, she looked at him and said, You don't have to pretend with me. I'm not, he replied. Not anymore. When she left that night, she hugged him for a long time. No kiss, no promises, just a quiet understanding. Liam sat by the lake one weekend, journal in hand. The wind rustled through the tall grass, the sun painting gold on the water. He wrote, I am not the man who was betrayed. I am not the man who walked out. I am someone else now. Someone still healing, still learning, still growing. And maybe that's enough for today. He looked up, feeling lighter than he had in years. The ashes of his old life were still there, yes, but from them, something new was rising. And for the first time, it felt like his life. The knock came mid-morning on a Tuesday, soft, uncertain, but persistent enough to pull Liam from his chair. He'd been writing, lost in the quiet rhythm of thought, the city's buzz distant through the window behind him. Another knock. He set the notebook down, heart tightening, not with anticipation, but a deep, familiar caution. He opened the door. Avery stood there. Tom had not been kind to her. Her eyes looked sunken, dark circles etched like bruises beneath. Her hair, once perfectly styled, was disheveled and dry. She wore a plain gray hoodie, sleeves pulled over trembling hands. No makeup, no practice smile, just exhaustion and guilt in its rawest form. Hi, she said quietly, voice hoarse. Can I talk to you? Liam didn't move at first. I won't stay long, she added, holding up a folded envelope. I need to give you this, and say what I should have said a long time ago. He studied her face. There were no crocodile tears, no dramatics, just a ghost of the woman he once loved, ravaged by choices neither of them could undo. He stepped aside without a word. Avery walked in slowly, taking cautious glances around the apartment. It was nothing like the home they once shared. This place had no trace of her. Clean, minimal, quiet. She looked like she felt it too. Nice place, she offered, awkward. He didn't respond. She sat on the edge of the couch, hands shaking slightly as she placed the envelope on the coffee table between them. I wrote everything down, she said, because I figured maybe I don't deserve to say it out loud. Liam stood by the window, arms crossed, watching her through the glass reflection. I'll leave after this, she said. I'm not here to beg. I'm not here to make excuses. I couldn't live with myself unless I gave you the truth. He turned slightly, his eyes cool, steady. Then tell me. She blinked, swallowed hard. Logan, she began, then stopped. A tremble ran through her body. She exhaled sharply. Logan wasn't just some guy from the gym. He knew about you. Liam frowned, a slow shift in his posture. What do you mean? He targeted me. Avery whispered. At first, I thought it was a coincidence, just flirting harmless. But then, he started asking about you. Your work, your habits. He said things that made me think I was being taken for granted. Liam stepped closer, jaw clenched. You're saying he manipulated you? She nodded slowly, eyes shining. Yes, and I let him. I was so angry at you, Liam. So lonely. And he made me feel seen again. But it wasn't real. He knew exactly how to feed that, how to twist it. Why? Liam asked flatly. Avery looked up. He told me the night everything blew up after you left the bedroom. He said he'd always hated you. That years ago, he'd applied for a job at your firm. You rejected him, said he wasn't ethical. Liam blinked, pieces shifting in his head. Avery continued, her voice breaking. He waited. He followed your life. Found me. Lured me in just to ruin you. Liam's throat tightened, but he didn't look away. I should have seen it, she whispered. I was so blind, so selfish. And once I realized it was too late, he'd already burned everything down. Silence fell between them like ash. Liam walked slowly to the coffee table, picked up the letter. He didn't open it, just held it in his hand, watching her. You made your choices, he said quietly. And I made mine. I know, she nodded. And I'm not asking you to undo any of it. I deserve what happened. Every ounce of it. I needed to tell you the truth. That it wasn't just lust or boredom. It was weakness. And I let myself become something I never thought I could be. She stood up, moving toward the door, tears trailing silently down her cheeks. At the door, she paused. Do you hate me? Liam looked at her, eyes tired but calm. No, he said simply. I don't hate you. I forgave you a while ago. She turned, startled. You did. I had to, he replied. Not for you. For me. Because carrying that poison was killing who I wanted to become. Her lips trembled. I'm glad. Even if I don't deserve it. He didn't answer. Avery turned the knob, paused again. I loved you once. I ruined that. And I'm sorry. Truly. Liam gave her a small nod. Not warm. Not cold. Just final. She opened the door and stepped out into the hallway, shoulders shaking, head bowed. He watched her go. Didn't follow. After a few seconds, he shut the door quietly behind her. Liam walked back to the couch, sank down, and stared at the envelope. He opened it slowly. The letter was handwritten, messy but sincere. It detailed everything she had just said, and more. Her guilt, the late-night regrets, the dreams where she woke up screaming his name, the way Logan had turned violent when she tried to leave him, the breakdown, the therapy, the pills, the loneliness. It ended with, if nothing else, I hope you're happy now. You deserve peace. Even if I never do. Avery Liam folded the letter slowly and placed it back in the envelope. Then he reached for his notebook. He wrote a single sentence. Forgiveness does not mean return. It means release. Outside, the city continued its steady hum, and Liam sat in the quiet, finally free. Sunlight streamed through the lace curtains of the small cottage house Liam now called home. The place sat at the edge of a sleepy town, nestled between wooded trails and a narrow river that glinted silver in the morning. It wasn't grand or extravagant, but it was his earned, rebuilt, and filled only with what he chose to carry forward. He stood in front of the mirror in the bedroom, adjusting the collar of his slate gray suit. Not too stiff. No tie. Elena had insisted on keeping the ceremony simple. No armor, she said with a playful smile. Just you, me, and honesty. A knock tapped lightly at the doorframe. Can I come in? Or, is the groom still panicking? Her voice teased. Liam turned, smiling softly. Elena stepped into the room, barefoot, still in her robe, holding 2 steaming mugs of coffee. Her hair was pulled up loosely, and her face was glowing with something no one could fake. Peace. I'm not panicking, he said, taking a mug. I'm just feeling everything. Elena leaned against the dresser and looked at him for a long moment. That's a good thing. He nodded, sipping the coffee. I didn't think I'd ever have this again. Joy without strings. Love without suspicion. She tilted her head. And yet, here you are, smiling like a man who beat the devil and came back with a blueprint. Liam chuckled quietly. That's not far from the truth. Elena stepped closer, placing her mug down on the windowsill. Her hand touched his cheek gently. You're ready, Liam. Not because everything's perfect, but because you've stopped carrying things that don't belong to you anymore. He reached for her hand, holding it with quiet reverence. You showed me how. A warm silence passed between them. No rush, no pressure, just the comforting knowledge that healing had already begun long ago, and today was only its celebration. By noon, the garden behind the cottage was softly buzzing with quiet chatter and laughter. A dozen chairs formed a half circle around an arch Elena had built herself with reclaimed wood and vines. There were no photographers, no formalities, just a few people they'd come to love in this new chapter: his therapist Martin, a kind florist named Becca, two neighbors who always brought fresh bread, and Elena's younger sister who had flown in that morning. Liam stood under the arch, hands loosely folded, his eyes scanning the modest gathering. He didn't need crowds. What mattered was already here. And then the music started, an acoustic guitar played by a boy from the writing group Liam had joined months ago. Elena stepped down the garden path in a flowing ivory dress, barefoot on the grass, a crown of dried wildflowers in her hair. Liam felt something stir in his chest, not like a storm, but like sunlight finally warming a room long locked away. When she reached him, she smiled through tears. "This doesn't feel like a beginning," she whispered, taking his hands. He leaned in. "Because we already started." The officiant, a retired pastor and part-time poet, spoke gently, his words less ceremony and more truth-telling. No grand speeches, no vows memorized or performed, just raw, quiet promises whispered in shared breath. To hold space for your hurt and never use it against you, to build with honesty, not expectation, to never confuse love with control. And when the final words were spoken, Liam kissed Elena with a steady hand on her cheek, and the applause that followed was small but sincere. From behind a tree at the edge of the garden, hidden by branches and distance, Avery watched. Her hands clutched the side of the tree, fingers trembling. She hadn't meant to come, but something inside her needed to see it. To see him. To understand the shape of the life he'd built without her. She wasn't dressed for a wedding. Just jeans and a worn coat. Her hair tied back loosely. No makeup. No warmth in her eyes. Just quiet devastation. The man standing beneath that arch wasn't the Liam she remembered. He stood taller now, not physically, but spiritually. He looked lighter. Freer. Not because he'd forgotten her, but because he had risen above what she'd made of him. Avery's eyes burned. She had told herself that she had accepted it, that she had made peace. But seeing him like this, whole, happy, without even a sliver of ache for her, was a deeper agony than any confrontation could have been. She turned to leave, but froze when she heard Liam's voice. He was speaking to a guest now, but the words carried over the breeze like a knife she wasn't meant to hear. "You made me leave my own house," he said softly, chuckling without bitterness. "Now I've built a better one, and you're not welcome." Avery closed her eyes. That was all she would ever have now, the distant echo of what she destroyed, a memory that would never again open its door to her. She walked away. Back in the garden, Liam stood with Elena, fingers interlocked, the hum of joy gently threading through the people around them. He wasn't thinking about the past. He was thinking about how soft Elena's hand felt in his, about how the sun felt warm but not harsh, about how peace didn't always come in silence. Sometimes it came with laughter, and it was enough.